Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Talking Nerdy podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Travis.
And today we are talking about Avengers Endgame. So,
yes.
Needless to say, spoilers. All right.
Many spoilers ahead. So if you haven't seen the movie, stop listening right now.
Yeah.
Get the hell out of here. If you don't care about spoilers or if you've already seen it, welcome.
Yeah.
Get ready. We're going to talk about some stuff.
Yeah, we're going to talk about some stuff. So, speaking of stuff, how about you lead us off?
All right. So, first of all, I know that we're going to condense this down so we're not going on and on and on about plot.
Right,
so there are going to be spoilers, but we're not going to tell the whole movie.
Right, we're not just retelling the story. Yeah.
Yeah, like the biggest thing that I really wanted to hit on is the fact that this movie encapsulates and kind of wraps up the end of the last 11 years now of these films.
Right, exactly.
What started in 2008 with Iron Man has now led up to this point where like all those characters that you've grown to know and love, you know, Tony Stark, Thor, Bruce, Steve, Natasha, Clint, all those guys are kind of facing, you know, the final consequences of what it is to be an Avenger and how, you know, I think what was that line? I can't remember which movie it was from, but basically it was something like showing how with these Avengers and whatnot, it showed the universe that Earth is ready for a higher form of war.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
I think that was the first Avengers where they said something like that.
Something like that, yeah.
But that's what's kind of come upon them. And this movie is them dealing with the fallout of what happens when someone comes along who is able to challenge their strength,
right,
is better prepared to face them than they are this enemy.
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And this movie utilizes the last 10 years or so of these films to let this story unfold.
Right.
And it's absolutely insane and amazing.
It is insane, and yet it's tastefully done, I think.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, just my personal opinion, I like the Marvel movies, but as far as, like, art, you know, for a film, you know, they don't go too out there, you know, a lot of the time. They're just, this is a movie, there's action, there's plot, blah, blah, blah. But just the way that they tied in pre-existing footage and then reshooting scenes to incorporate new footage.
I know.
I mean, just like, mind-blowing and so well done just from a film aspect.
Absolutely. Like, visually speaking, a lot of these movies are just gorgeous, but I think that this movie... I want an art book for this movie because there's so many shots that I'm just so like, holy crap. Yeah.
Exactly.
You know, from Thanos' planet to the decimated Avengers compound to like the return of Asgard and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There's just visually so much deliciousness. That final shot towards the end of the movie where the sorcerers are opening those portals and everyone that was lost is coming through.
Right.
It's just, the lighting is so like low key and it just makes those portals pop.
Yeah.
And the silhouettes of like Black Panther coming through and the Guardians. And,
right.
Oh, it's so good.
It was. It really, it built, you know, everything thus far has built to this one moment, and then that moment delivered.
Yep.
You know, it wasn't like, I don't know, so many movies you just overhype in your head, and then you're like, I mean, it was good, but my expectations were too high. And this is one of those movies where, like, never has the hype been higher, and yet, you know, never has the bar been set so high, and yet never has their delivery been so above the bar.
This movie broke its first billion opening weekend.
Oh, wow.
That is unheard of.
Yeah, I didn't hear that, but I believe it.
It's at about 1.2 billion right now.
Wow.
Probably more.
Yeah, as we speak.
Jesus, man. Yeah.
That's incredible. Man, yeah. But I don't know, it's just, again, with it being 3 hours long, initially I was stoked because I was like, oh, this is good, because they're going to have a lot of ground to cover.
Yeah.
They're going to have a lot of characters that need screen time, so like 3 hours is good. But then I was like,
yeah.
But I'm afraid it's going to feel like I'm in the theater for 3 hours, you know? Like, Infinity War was not nearly as long, but it felt longer.
No.
Infinity War felt longer.
Agreed. And I think
Endgame
that's
went by
because
so quick because you were just like boom,
Yeah.
boom, boom. Like they kept it moving, but they slowed it down when it was necessary, and it was
for sure.
It was.
I'm hearing a horrible like droning noise outside. Sounds like a dead dinosaur.
Oh,
Like it sounds like that scene from Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom where that like Brontosaurus is dying in the fire. That's exactly what it sounds like outside right now. Sorry.
oh God! All right.
But as far as like the pacing goes, I think what kind of helped achieve that, and it's my second main talking point, is the emotional gravity of the film.
Yeah.
Like every single scene, there is something that is like hitting you in the soul because it's saying here is something that you love about Avengers and the Marvel heroes, and we're turning it on its head.
Well,
you
man,
know?
the opening shot of the film,
Oh my God, yeah.
Clint and his
Yeah.
family. I mean,
When they all vanish, taking
Yeah.
just classic good guy Clint, who's been nothing but, I mean, really nothing much but comic relief
Right.
for the last several movies, and giving him some serious like trauma issues to deal with.
right?
You know?
And I like that the very first scene was, the way it was, in that it was before the snap. Because basically,
Yeah.
it's been a year, and right off the bat, they reminded the audiences, remember what happened? Maybe
Yeah,
your
yeah.
brain does, but do your emotions? All right, now you're checked back in where we need you to be.
Well, and I'll tell
they
you
put
what
the audience
really-
in the emotional state that they were at the end of
Yeah.
Infinity War in order to prep them for the movie ahead, and that was
Yeah.
well done.
Yep. But I'll tell you what else about that whole sequence, like thematically speaking, as far as like the character of Hawkeye and all that, that really drove it home, is the fact that Hawkeye left the Avengers. He left S.H.I.E.L.D. He wanted to be with his family. He wanted to be done with all that, and even leaving them wasn't enough.
Yeah. Yep.
You know?
Yep.
I would dare to say that that almost is a clue. Like, this is what happens when heroes leave.
Right.
You know? If he had been there, he might have been able to make that difference.
Yeah.
He might have been the point of Thanos either wins or loses because of this.
Right. I
So-
think he's definitely dealing with that guilt of not being there for that fight because
Yep.
he still
And-
paid the price in the end. Yeah.
For sure. But yeah, let's get back to the decade of films that have been included in here.
Right.
I absolutely love that they made Ant-Man, who's been kind of like a B-list Marvel character for these films. They really made his story matter. It was a crux to this film as far
Right.
as the quantum realm and all that jazz. is
His
concerned.
explanation and his plan, even if it was Tony Stark that filled it out and Bruce Banner
Yep.
that like made it practical, it was
You can't do that without Pym particles. You
Exactly.
can't do it without Scott Lang's accident.
right. And
You know?
and him having been in the quantum realm to
Yeah.
explain his theory, even if he doesn't have the
Exactly.
science to back it up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I said this, to Kim right when the movie ended, I was just like, man, Ant-Man was like my favorite part of this film.
Yep.
Like, I mean, I loved the whole movie, but pretty much, it was only one
For
or
sure.
two things. There was only like 2 moments where I was like, that's what you're going with? All right, but everything else was like fine. But really,
Yeah.
Ant-Man was just like, I love Paul Rudd, and I was just
Oh, yeah.
very happy with how his character got to,
For sure.
be a part of this ride.
And I've got to say, like I had told you in one of our previous podcasts, that I had thought that his whole motivation, because his motivation has always been his daughter, exclusively his daughter, I thought that she was going to be disappeared in the snap, and that was going to be what pushes him to go try and save them.
Right.
But the fact that he breaks out of that shell and he's like, you know what? There's literally a universe dealing with this. My problems are okay. Like, I thought that showed tremendous growth in his character.
Right.
And that's another thing, is the growth in each character that we see.
Yeah.
Natasha acknowledging that she found a family when she didn't think that was ever going to happen. Bruce coming to terms with the Hulk and them kind of uniting, which was ridiculous, by the way.
That
My
was
God.
ridiculous. Oh,
Hipster
man.
Hulk.
Yeah.
But also, I loved it.
Yeah.
Tony becoming a dad,
Right.
and kind of like, it's one of those things where he's always been a little selfish, he's always been in it for the glory. And for the most part, he
Well-
tried to stick to, like, I'm only going to take care of me and my family. That's what matters.
And here's
then-
my thought with Tony. Well, go ahead and finish your.
Well, I was just going to say, kind of like realizing that after so long, yeah, he might have acted out of self-interest, but ultimately he is a hero,
Right. Yeah.
and kind of falling in line with that.
Yeah. Well, and the whole thing with, Doctor Strange being like, there's 14 million possibilities and we win in one.
Yeah.
And that one involved Tony Stark sacrificing himself,
Yep.
which means that Tony Stark is such a self-centered person that there's only 1 in 14 million scenarios where he would actually sacrifice himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the only reason he did it is because he learned what he learned by having a kid.
Absolutely.
So it makes sense in the end. Yeah. I love Doctor Strange's subtle, just like, I'm not going to say anything, but like...
Just one finger.
This is it, buddy. Yeah.
It's like he knew what Tony was thinking.
Yeah.
He knew that he needed to see that.
Yep, because that would be the final
God.
push for him to just do it. And
Yep.
Yeah. It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
Now, my only question at the end is, because this did involve time travel for the first time, and we were 5 years in our future, current future, so it's 2023. The film ends in that same timeline, right?
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
So why is Ned still in high school waiting for Peter Parker to come back?
Because, and I read about this, and I was confused by it as well, but the whole thing, and what Far From Home is going to establish, is that Ned, Peter, and Michelle and Flash, that whole group of kids, they all vanished in the snap.
All of them. Okay.
So 5 years later, they're still in high school.
Oh, man, that's
They
crap.
need to go back. And, like, it's interesting, though, because then Far From Home's going to deal with, like, what do you do to carry on after all this? You know, when things have, quote unquote, gone back to normal. Like, how do you carry on with
Which
everything?
is why Far
Especially
From
losing
Home
Tony.
is technically the last film in this phase. Yeah.
Is it? Because
Yeah.
I thought it was number one moving forward.
I read that they said no, it's the final film because it wraps up that whole what comes next thing.
Okay, I'll need to look into that because, like, as far as I understood, Endgame is the Endgame. That's the grand finale of the Infinity Saga.
That's what I thought, and that's what made sense. So I could be wrong, but we'll double check that. But,
yeah.
But yeah, okay. So all of them together are just continuing high school. I guess that makes sense because I was kind of like, what?
What I've heard a theory, and it's something I look forward to if it does happen, is that the next big Marvel event is going to be Marvel Secret War, which the original Secret War was basically cosmic entities gathered all the superheroes on Earth, took them to this planet, and made them fight against all the villains.
Interesting.
You know, and kind of like a battle royale, like which side is really stronger kind of deal.
That'd be an interesting path.
And Spider-Man is a big player in that.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense. Mm-hmm. That's cool.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Yeah.
But I got to ask you, man.
Okay.
Did you cry? Did you cry?
I did not. No, I was...
Oh, you heartless bastard.
I was, like, cheering, though. Kim and I were, like, cheering through most of this.
I was bored. I had to really hold it in.
Yeah.
I really had to hold it in. Ronnie was there, my girlfriend. My family was there. And I'm just like, I was going to lose it, especially at the end with Tony passing and then, like, seeing his arc reactor in the water.
Ooh,
like,
okay, that was a good moment, yeah.
God damn, dude. That's where it all started, and that's where it ends.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah. Oof.
Oh,
so good.
And I will also say, I was also constantly, like, jumping up out of my seat, screaming uncontrollably. Like, when Thor freaking dual wields Mjolnir and Stormbreaker, I was just like, hell yeah! Like, I was so excited.
Or what?
And my mom just, like, grabs me on the shoulder and lowers me back into my seat.
Or what about when Cap has his lightning moment?
Hell yes!
Like,
Captain America using the hammer now.
Not only can he lift and wield the hammer, he can summon the lightning.
Well, that's the thing. Odin blessed it, so whoever wields it possesses the power of Thor.
Yeah.
When he freaking, like, tosses it in the air, and as it comes down, he slams it with his shield. Like,
right?
Oh, I'm gonna go see it in like an hour here. So I'm, yeah. I'm very
muy bueno. I'm glad that
Thor.
I'm glad that Cap got that moment. You know,
Me too.
Thor. Okay.
Fat Thor. What a dream.
Yeah.
My mom was pissed.
Really?
She was like, "What the hell is this?" She's got a huge crush on Hemsworth.
Yeah, that's funny. I I don't like that they kept making fun of him for being fat, but I do like that they were showing that this character that is seemingly unfazed by everything that has ever happened in the history of history has finally been hit where it hurts.
Yeah.
And can't cope with it,
Yeah.
I did like seeing Thor be humbled in that regard and have to have his friends, build himself up and build him back up. And
when Rocket slapped him, I laughed so goddamn.
Okay, yeah, that was good. And Thor, at the end, he's part of the Guardians now,
Yeah.
It's good. And, and then Peter Quill coming back. Just all the characters coming back in that final fight.
Was great.
But there's so many people on the field, but they each still got their own moment. And they got their own ending. And then the ending for Captain America couldn't be happier.
Dude, I was so satisfied, and that was such a touching moment.
Yeah. So, yeah. It was very good. And then handing the shield off to Falcon.
It's so subtle, but I love the redesign on the shield.
Yeah.
It's like, oh man, it's classic, but it's just different enough. You're like, okay, this is Falcon's shield,
right? Yeah. And then Tony making the shield for Captain America, and just kind of like an olive branch,
Yep, that was nice.
And them just admitting that in the end they trust each other, and they're gonna do what it takes.
Mm-hmm.
And then, Black Widow's sacrifice, man.
That
moment
of
the two of them, well, yeah, for sure. But the two of them fighting to be the one to do it. And, and then time-traveling Thanos, and I loved, Nebula finally coming into, their own as an individual, making their own decisions.
Yeah.
Just truly, once and for all, shaking off the past.
Mm-hmm.
By literally killing their past self.
Oh, yeah.
It's good.
What did you think about, how they handled Thanos? Like, being aware of everything and then, like, tracking him down and almost getting the upper hand again.
Yeah. Okay, well, when they kill Thanos in the first, 25 minutes of the movie.
Dude! The shock. The shock.
I was just like, a what?
Yeah. What did you do? I went for the head.
Okay, yeah, that was good. But
he did.
Yeah, he did. But then, using the mind sync through Nebula's internal recorder.
Because they were on the same server.
Yeah, literally. Yeah, literally.
Oh,
she went back to 2014 and auto connected to that Wi-Fi, basically.
Yeah.
And
oh God, password memory.
Yeah, password memory.
Thing.
Exactly.
Tricky thing.
And then that gives Thanos everything he needs. And then
this whole movie is actually just a cautionary tale against the use of technology and wireless systems.
Right.
The cloud is dangerous.
Right. Just one of my favorite moments of the whole movie is just AntMan, Scott Lang being like, "You're telling me Back to the Future is complete bullshit?"
Bullshit? Yes. Oh my God.
He was so devastated.
Well, yeah, that whole time Tony's like, "Are you really basing your theory of time travel on Back to the Future?" And he's like, "No." And then he has that line 10 minutes later, like, "So wait.
Yeah.
You're telling me Back to the Future is just a bunch of bullshit?"
Yeah. It's good. And that explains why they all had the matching suits. Those were their quantum suits.
Yes.
They were all based on the Ant-Man suit, and it's just, it was good.
And I like that it was all nanotech, Tony's nanotech.
Yeah.
Because then they could just switch into their regular uniforms, too.
Right. Well, it was the perfect blend of Hank Pym's old tech and Stark's new tech. And
exactly. It was the marriage that never happened.
Right. Yeah. And in the end, that's what, sealed the deal. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man.
Coffee's delicious.
Yeah. There's so many just amazing points in the movie, but, I feel like all the characters that were getting a send-off got the send-off they deserved.
I agree 100%.
And then the ones that are here for the next phase are, here and ready and, victorious and ready for whatever comes next,
Oh, yeah.
It was enough of a wrap that even the characters that are going to continue on can continue in whatever direction they choose, because
that I know they ended on such a good note because it leaves a lot of options available.
There's no loose ends. I can't think of any loose ends.
There is one loose end that I can think of.
Okay, what is it?
Loki and the Tesseract.
That is true. That is true, because he did, in that timeline, change, and so if Loki can find a way back to his original timeline, he will no longer be dead.
Yeah. Well, technically, that's part of the same timeline, because they took the stones back to the point of origin where they stole them, so those stones exist wherever they do in that timeline.
Oh, that is true. So even though they did go
Which
back...
is very confusing. But
right,
yes.
because even though they did go back further to get the Tesseract again, from
He
S.H.I.E.L.D.,
still stole it in the future.
It's still within the same timeline of Loki disappearing. So Loki, it just depends on if he still ended up being killed by Thanos in that moment, regardless of that specific teleportation. But it is a deviation from the original timeline, because we know for a fact that he was escorted back to Asgard in that moment.
And ultimately the time travel is not airtight in this movie, but that's okay, because it's one of those things where you just have to be like, it's a comic book movie, it is what it is,
it's
and it's
good
going to leave
enough
it open to more
compared
storytelling.
to the holes that time travel leaves just in general.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. Should Captain America have remembered beating himself up? Maybe. But,
yeah.
There's enough continuity that it's acceptable, considering the scale to which they were dabbling.
Mm-hmm.
That was a massive scale of time travel.
It really was.
Within their own timelines. So, but yeah, Loki, that's definitely a loose end, and that would be cool to see that play out later on.
Yes. Which it kind of will. Disney Plus is going to have the Loki TV series.
That's true. And then there's going to be Falcon and the Winter Soldier, right?
Yes.
So that could maybe...
Okay, so are they going to call him the Winter Soldier or the White Wolf? I'm confused where he is now.
I don't know, but isn't the name of the show literally Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Or is that just a working title?
It's probably a working title because nothing's been filmed yet.
Ah, that's true. And
everything's just been announced, this is going to happen. And honestly, I have a feeling we're going to hear that change.
Yeah, well, especially if Falcon's going to go the Captain America route. There'd be no point in calling these two characters in the TV show by names they're no longer going to be using in their new persona.
Exactly.
So, yeah, that's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah. So, yeah, our buddy Manuel was asking me earlier. He said, Travis, if you had to rate it 1 out of 10, without giving me spoilers, what would you give it? And I told him, honestly, I'd give it a 9, maybe a 9.5.
Yeah.
No movie's perfect. I have yet to see a movie that I would describe as a perfect 10.
Yeah, I feel
but this movie, I think this movie, more than any other film I've ever watched, it stirred up a lot of emotions. In 3 hours, I went through every feeling that has ever existed in the human complex.
Yeah.
I laughed. I cried. I was angry. I was afraid. I was elated. I was nostalgic.
Surprised.
This movie has a lot to offer.
Yeah.
And I think that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has done a wonderful job of telling its own story while paying homage to older comic lines.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I would hate to see anyone bashing this film because they don't like it. Because I just feel like there's something in here for literally everybody to like.
Right.
It was entertaining, if nothing else, and ultimately that's what these stories and that's what film is for. It's there to entertain, and I have never been so entertained in my life for 3 straight hours. Bravo.
Well, yeah, and I feel like, for those of us that have seen every movie along the way, which I still haven't seen Captain Marvel, but, for those of us that have been following it along the way, it gives you that extra layer. But for people who are like, I saw Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America, they could still watch this movie and get plenty out of it.
Absolutely. 100%.
So I feel like the way it was made, you can absorb it on different levels and still get a story that you can follow and enjoy. Even if you've only seen the first of each series and none of the spin-off things, or if you've just seen the big ones, then you're still fine. Which is nice in a movie. but it still caters to the people that have seen every little thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
Before we go, one last talking point.
All right.
Stan Lee's cameo.
Yep. I figured you were gonna end there.
Yep. At first when the car's driving and you see the "Nuff Said" bumper sticker, I was like, oh, they're not gonna have Stan in it. They just are gonna have the bumper sticker. Like, that's cute. A little disappointing.
Right.
And then there's a young Stan Lee in the car,
right,
screaming, "Make love, not war," and I was in tears immediately. I was so... Man, what a good cameo.
His final cameo?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that was him with makeup on, but that was his voice.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. It could have been CG.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll have to look into that one. But yeah, it was a good moment for sure.
Yeah.
Going by the military base.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then, yeah, it was good. It was good. I know I keep saying it was good, but it was very good.
I mean, it was, yeah.
It was. The ending scene at Tony's lake house and just that camera pan weaving in and out
all those guys.
Everyone. You know, it was...
Did you notice they had the kid from Iron Man 3 there?
Yeah.
Harley.
Yeah.
Because they had that special connection.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, man. So I'm curious if they're going to bring him in at any point. Because he was already kind of tinkering, you know.
That's true.
Back in that movie. So
That's
maybe
true.
as he gets older, he'll become a new superhero.
Ooh. Or a new Iron Man.
Iron Lad.
Iron Lad. Yep. Yep. I'd watch it.
Yeah. Agreed. Me too. Why not?
Right?
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think that's enough without it being too much.
I agree. I think
Just
this is a
because
good stopping point.
I feel like we could talk for 3 hours about a 3-hour film.
Oh, I could talk a whole lot longer than 3 hours, let me tell you.
But for the
yes.
sake of the podcast and the sake of the fact that you were literally about to go watch this movie again,
Yes.
we'll wrap it up here. So, if you've listened this far into the podcast, I sure hope you actually saw the movie. So let us know what you thought.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen it, get your ass down to a theater.
Right?
And enjoy it.
And go watch it right now.
Yeah.
Right now.
All right.
All right. Thank you, everybody. And until next time,
Stay nerdy.